Can you do the gallery mode when you do?
Yes, it's on there. I like this better. Okay, so weekly package meeting. We have a few items on the agenda. I think actually only a few, so it might be a quick meeting. So the first one's me. I have the review 12.1 milestone to see which issues need to carry into 12.2 or 12.3, and then I just highlighted a couple of items that I put into the blog post that's going to go out on the 22nd. So if I'm wrong on any of those, let me know and I could remove them from the blog post. I think the only question was the NPM subgroup project one.
Yeah, I'll find that out today, hopefully, and let you know.
Okay. Yeah, anytime in the next day or two is fine. It will take me 30 seconds to remove it from the post if need be.
You're basically been going back and forward on the review for a good bit, right? And is now Bob reviewing it, right?
Yeah, I think we've made it to the finish here. I had a couple final notes and some specs to fix up, but should be good to go.
How long has that review process been going on? It's been like nearly 2 weeks, right? Because
that one's been going on a while. Because there was the original review and then the maintainer review. So that one's, it's been going for a few weeks.
Yeah. Darby, is that kind of normal in your experience that reviews go that long? I mean, Steve's obviously pretty new, so there's a bunch of new things to learn when you're new, obviously. So no drama there, but is that kind of...
It can be. I think usually the first couple of times through it takes quite a bit longer. Where do you think the hangups have been?
There have been a few sort of high-level refactor type things that caused the rest of everything else to kind of roll through a refactor as well. So that's been one of the sort of slowdowns, and then the other is sort of just comment back, and then the next comment comes the next day, and then the next comment comes the next day. So it just gets spread out over a week that one short conversation occurs.
Yeah, that's not super surprising. We've had a couple engineers on the release team that are just newer-ish, and some of the things that they've been having to focus on more than they expected was sort of that deliberate communication. So making sure that before you sign off for the day, you've shipped everything that person is going to need when they wake up in 4 hours to evaluate that thing. And it's easy to forget some of that stuff because if you're used to just working in a more synchronous environment. And then I guess the other thing that I've worked with people on quite a bit is just how to break down a change into smaller MRs, or chunk it out a little bit so that you can use feature flags to, sort of limit the impact of a change, and then go and instead of one big MR that takes a long time to review and can lead to cascading refactorings like that, take it and break it down into smaller pieces. So then you can do this one piece, get that done and ship it, and then move on to the next one. And those reviews, the smaller the changes, the faster the review cycle is too. So that's something that just takes a little while to get used to. I think it's a little bit unique here, but I've definitely seen that happen with engineers on release too, where especially that first one where you're I got this change and it's done, and then you run into a brick wall and it takes a while to get through it. So yeah, those are the things that I would focus on, is that, deliberate communication, and then try to break it down as best you can. It doesn't work for every feature. Sometimes things just have to be a little bit larger, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the trick with this one, was it kind of all had to happen at once, and it's so there's a lot more going on than just a more small piece.
Yep. Yeah, and it doesn't always work for everything, but if you can, that'll help. But sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Darby. I appreciate your experience.
Sure.
And Steve, I'm happy to be helpful there. Obviously, these are your first few issues, and I'm trying to just let you figure everything out as you need to figure it out. But I feel like I feel at some level there's a bit of a disconnect here, with maybe I could have been more helpful with the guidance around finishing off communication at the end of the day, those sorts of things. If you think I could be doing something better, we're happy to take that feedback as well.
Cool.
Thanks. That was awesome. Okay, so as far as 12.1 goes, I shared a link to the chat as well. It's just the 12.1 planning board, and I'm looking in the open and deliverable columns. I believe there's 3 issues for Conan, the Conan skeleton API, the server authentication, and the overall MVC. I believe we're moving all of those to 12.2, right?
Sorry, Tim, I apologize. Can we just quickly get an update on the other 2 items that are in the list of things we're working on? I apologize on 12.1, that is. Because the second one is one uses special characters break container registry. That is completely done.
That is complete. Yeah, those 2 are completely done. And oh yeah, we could get an update. So this one, the warn user special characters, I think Nick did both of these features, and I believe they're both done. Although
they've both been done and merged. The second one, the warn users special characters, yesterday the fix for that also has been merged. So it should basically have the full update and respect the width and that kind of thing that was pointed out from UX.
Okay. Yeah.
Was that considered a regression in that when we delivered that, Nick, or was there just some other piece that we didn't have right away? I forget the exact details there. Can you just refresh my memory? Sorry.
I don't think it was picked up as a regression. I think it was just basically because we couldn't use the standard empty state component that exists in GitLab UI because we wanted to inject some more customized content than the component would allow. So because we did that, and we didn't use the standard component, the width of the message wasn't up to GitLab's sort of standard empty state size. And that was pointed out via UX. So UX spotted that and created a new issue, which we've now since resolved. And I've also updated the empty state component, although that hasn't been merged into GitLab UI just yet, but that will be coming. And I believe there's a tech debt issue to now change what we've used to get around this to actually using the GitLab UI component when it's ready.
Nice, that was really helpful, Nick. I remember us talking about that now. I apologize for being a bit confused.
No problem.
on the navigation issue, Nick, I know that it was merged and everything, but I still don't always see. Sometimes I see the changes, and sometimes I don't. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I think it's okay for me because I'm tagged on the QA issue where you're supposed to review your changes, so I kind of have a feeling, or I kind of know when it's coming. So it was in the QA issue that closed on Monday, and I ticked it off as complete. So I think that means it's going to go through, although I'm not entirely sure when that's going to be deployed because I think there's some UI problems with some of 12.1, I believe. I think some of the buttons have regressed, and in the front end channel, they're certainly talking about how to resolve those issues.
And that's for changing the navigation to rolling the registry under packages, the list.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so it's merged, but it's not live yet.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes I see it that it is there. Sometimes I like, I just like yesterday I was in one project and I saw packages and list, and then in another one I'll see the registry and package separate, like the old way. I don't know if that's possible.
Oh, really? Okay. I've not seen that. The only possibility that I can think of off the top of my head is in the groups, there's already a packages when you're browsing groups, and there isn't when you're browsing projects, I think.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right, because that change was merged earlier.
Yeah, that was done, quite a bit earlier. So I don't know if that's possible, but perhaps that's what's happening here.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the 12.1 board. So we mentioned, right before that, I was saying, so I think all of those Conan issues are moving to 12.2. Does that sound right? Okay. And I think there's some other UI issues and documentation things I could follow up with Axel and see what's happening with that. Okay, that makes sense. So then I did want to do a quick review of what's going in 12.3 right now. Is that if we could take a minute for that? So now I'm looking on our normal package planning board. This is linked in the doc, but I'll just link it here just so we have it. Oops. And I'm looking at the 12.3 column, which the first item here is an issue that George Inez is working on. This is the popular issue where deleting a tag deletes all tags with the same image ID. Historically, this has been due to an issue with the Docker API not supporting this, and Docker's had this issue open for a couple of years, and our users are saying, you have to solve this. This is too much of a problem. So we prioritize this one. The next one here is actually another George Inez ticket. This is supporting Helm charts with the GitLab container registry. So with the new release of Helm 3, basically Helm charts, which is the package manager for Kubernetes, changed the backend for Helm charts. They used to have to use Tiller as the container repository, and now you can use a container registry. So they're taking advantage of the Open Container Initiative, and they're basically changed the backend for that. Microsoft's already doing this. They announced that Azure DevOps Container Registry supports Helm charts. Some of our users in the issue are actually already doing this and showed it working. So this issue is just to add that minimal support to see if it works, and then add some documentation to our examples so we could show users how to do it and see what we need to do to add more support in the future if we need to. The next issue is this authenticate CI job token for the NPM registry. I actually wasn't sure about this one, Steve, because I know we changed the personal access token to be OAuth, but I'm not sure if that same change would work for the CI job token, if it can also be updated to support OAuth.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into the CI job tokens yet.
Okay. I'll keep the issue in there. Maybe I'll make it a similar investigate. If a new issue, it says like investigate if CI job token has support for OAuth. And I'll put that above this one. And if it does, then we could have another one that says make the change, and then like we did for personal access token.
Cool.
Okay. And then the Maven packages support for subgroups and group endpoints. So just basically what we did for NPM. I really like how we changed the way that we do our naming conventions as well. So doing something similar for Maven would be awesome. Would bring those features into parity. So it's another issue that's planned. And then we have two issues that came in from the HackerOne security report. These are about basically for the list of packages and for the container registry, you have users who shouldn't have access to the project can view them. So those were labeled as, I think, S3s. So we have 90 days to address them, but really for us to do them in 12.3, that's right at that 90-day limit. So I'm prioritizing those two security issues in 12.3. And then a couple more, the API endpoint to list the packages of a group. So Steve, I think you're already working on this for the container registry in 12.2. This is for Maven and NPM and eventually Conan packages. So a new API endpoint for packages. And then that's really it. I'm not sure what this improve NPM documentation is. I have to look at that one. And this one is the data collection. Maybe it's a good time to prioritize that. I know in 12.2, I'm trying to add the page views for for our key pages, but maybe it's time that we work on sort of the next level metrics as well. Thoughts, questions, anything that we missed? Concerns?
Those all look good. I think, with the security, with those P3, S3s, we probably want to invest a little time ahead of when we need to get them done to make sure we're actually looking at what's involved. I would hate to have those slip. So it's probably worth investing a minute. I'm not sure if Steve, you had thoughts around how that would work for you. Obviously, as the team grows, we'll have more people that contribute there. But right now, whether you need help or whether you want to spend a couple of hours each looking at them just ahead of time to see if you have any big question marks. I think with those sorts of things, it's important to sort of be relatively confident in the work that we have to get done prior to sort of putting it into one of our milestones. Just because the security factor, it's I don't want to mention them too much because that's the point. But
yeah, I was thinking next week, we on the 22nd or 23rd, that's when we're supposed to have the milestone finalized from a product perspective, and then that's when engineering usually does the investigation from between there and the first. So that could be the allotted time to go in, and it'll give me a little bit more time to finalize the milestone. And so then next week basically from the 22nd to the 1st could be used for investigation. If that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll make sure to make a little time to kind of like look through them and make sure there's no major concerns.
Okay. I think, Steve, the big change for you might be if we're trying to transition the Conan work to you, there might be some changes on some other priorities. So we'll need to figure that out as well.
Cool.
Okay. And then, Nick, are there any issues that you wanted to bring forward? I know actually your issue on this board is really cool. The container registry UI update. I wonder if we should plan on bringing that into 12.3 as well.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just in the process of putting a mock-up of what it could potentially look like. And then, yeah, I invite any sort of feedback. And if my point is that I've created this issue. And so if anybody had any ideas or feedback, suggestions, comments, whatever, to check out the issue and leave them there. And hopefully, yeah, we can work on building something that looks sort of a little bit nicer than what it does right now. Yeah, but yeah, if we can bring it forward, then I'm all for that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I really like all your ideas, and I'm impressed with how CodeFresh handles their container registry. I think they have a lot of similar use cases to us in that they have pipelines built in, they have the code, the commit SHAs in there, and the branches compared to like how Docker Hub or Quay does it, because they don't have the same set of considerations that we do. So it could be a little bit of inspiration to look through some of their documentation or watch some of their example videos as well.
Okay, I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't know to check those out. I'll spend some time this afternoon and have a look.
Okay. Cool. Okay, Sarah, I think you're next on the list.
Sure, thank you. Basically, it was just a quick update on what I'm currently working on, being the distribution tags. With the help of Steve, I was able to understand basically the endpoints, how to find endpoints, and that was the hurdle for a while. What I'm working on today, ideally, would be the option to list tags. So I saw that the endpoint is /list tags, but it's not hitting, so I'll have to figure out why. Maybe I didn't create the correct endpoint, but otherwise I feel confident about writing specs this week and hopefully having something ready next week. And I'll probably reach out to you, Nick, because we'd have to list the tags in the UI, and I'll probably need some help with that. So ideally, like a pairing session in your time would be awesome if that works for you.
Yeah, no problem. Just let me know when you're free to do that.
Thank you.
Is there that issue isn't assigned to you, Sarah? Is that a normal thing to not do that?
That's just no. I'm not sure. I created my my issue being that we would need to create a package metadata table. That one I believe is assigned to me. But the main one, no. So I guess I should assign that one to me, the one that was created by Dimitri.
Yeah, I guess I don't have enough context to sort of know whether there's extra work that has to go into this. I'm also still learning how we usually do that. So I don't know, Darby, if you want to weigh in on whether that's something that someone would normally assign to themselves, but if you're sort of actively working on it, I don't know. I generally look at issues, although I do look at a lot of MRs as well. So thoughts, Darby?
Sorry, the question was about assigning an MR or an issue.
Issue.
Yeah, I think in general, we at least on release we try to indicate that we're working on something by having our face on it. So that's usually how we do it, or that we plan to work on it. If it doesn't have an assignee, then it's not really clear who owns it. So trying to have some sort of ownership indicated by that is usually the goal.
That works. Thank you. I've assigned it to myself.
Thanks, Sarah. That's awesome. Really appreciate your work on this as well. It's super cool. Thank you so much. Is that cool? That sounds awesome.
That's the full agenda.
Awesome. Well, thank you, peeps, for your time. I think if there's no one else has anything, then we can wrap this up. Everyone, awesome work. Thank you so much. It's really nice to see everyone sort of getting up to speed and getting things done. It's really motivating and it's really fun. Really appreciate everyone's effort. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.